Catherine Stupp. I'm a journalist and reporter at the EU news website Euractiv here in Brussels. So thank you all for coming. I think we have a really interesting topic to talk about. The challenge of building trust. Is technology there to save the media? So we're going to talk about whether technology can save the media industry, whether it should and how it could. And we have a pretty diverse panel to help us discuss those issues. I'm not sure we'll come to one final solution, but at least we could discuss our different viewpoints. So we've heard, the phrase fake news has been brought up a lot over the last year, and I'm sure that it's going to come up several times during this panel also. But I think our panelists are going to discuss fake news and also some other topics in the meantime too, including online platforms, how they affect the news industry, and some other trends too that we'll get to towards the end of the panel. So without further ado, let me start introducing our speakers, and again, I hope that the others can join us at some point on Skype too. Directly to my left is Ehsan Fadakar, the head of social strategy at Schibsted Media Group in Sweden. And then we have Guillaume Clausin, who's the director of public affairs and big data at EBU, the European Broadcasting Union, here in Brussels. And then next to him, we have from VRT, both of you, from the Belgian public broadcaster. We have Dieter Bohn, who's manager for innovation, and Tim Verheiden, who's a journalist at VRT. So we're really delighted to have all of you here. And I'm going to give each of you a few minutes to kind of talk about your take on this topic. And afterwards, we can take a few questions and see where the conversation goes from there. So let's start with you, Ehsan. What can you tell us? You're working in Sweden and working at a big media house. And you were telling me you have kind of prepared a presentation maybe on what you've done with Facebook.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's on now. I was supposed to have a presentation, but I'm not sure if, what is it? No.
It's something.
Okay, now it's a really strong light instead.
You need to improvise.
Yes, I think I need to improvise, or at least I need a clicker so I can do my presentation, because I think it's not.
Improvise, or should we come back to you?
Maybe we should get back.
Okay. Guillaume from the EBU.
So I think many of you know the European Broadcasting Union. You know the Eurovision Song Contest, which is just a small part of the EBU. EBU was created 65 years ago in order to foster innovation between the public service media community, of which VRT is part. And we have a driving role in fostering technology within the community, but also the quality of news with what you know, which is the EVM, and also to share content, quality content at European level. With regard to the topic, which is the relationship between tech and media nowadays in Europe, which is not exactly the same situation in the US. If we look at the long run, media were really at the avant-garde of technology in Europe. As far as we can go in the past, if you think about the newspaper, they were really the first to implement new printing technology and technique to use any kind of tools, and Europe was a driver. And this was obviously true for TV and radio, and broadcasters were key innovators in Europe, and they were followed very often by the US. With the digital revolution and the other revolution we have, because it's not only a digital revolution, we have advanced manufacturing production system, we have artificial intelligence, we have many things which complement each other. The experimental field is not anymore in Europe, it's in the US. And we saw the emergence of big platforms which are completely changing the game for European stakeholders and challenge our business and operational model and put a lot of pressure on us because they are somehow oligopoly, global oligopoly or regional oligopoly. And it challenges not only with regard to the revenue side, but also on the distribution side. And I think you are going to speak about the Facebook algorithm, and we see how Facebook somehow can select the information you want to give priority, and by doing that, they change the priority of news, and they change the priority of society. So the challenge for us is somehow double. First, I will speak about confidence, trust, but confidence with regard to ourselves, and we need to regain confidence with regard to technology. If we look at public broadcaster, we were a leader in terms of R&D, and we have big lab, and which is always the case in, for example, BBC or RAI, somehow VRT, you are really a lab, but the rest of our members have not technology integrated within themselves. And in the revolution in which we are, we need to combine content and tech. And for that, we need to rethink ourselves, which is one challenge, self-confidence with regard to ourselves. And the second challenge is confidence with regard to our audience. We see that young people, due to social media and to many other things, distrust more and more institutions, and they consider ourselves, traditional media, as institutions. This is true for print, this is true for broadcaster. We made a survey on one, the survey's name is Generation What, on 1 million young Europeans, and this distrust is very clear. But at the same time, we are more trusted by other sources. So our challenge is really double. On the one side, increase our confidence with regard to technology in order to retake the lead, and there is an industrial challenge for Europe, which is to be part of the technology history or to be outside. And the second thing is to rethink the relationship with our audience and build a trust relationship. Practically, there are several challenges. There is a regulatory challenge which is linked to the EU discussion we have nowadays to have, I would say, a level battlefield. And the AVMS is very important in this respect. This is the first challenge. The second challenge is our capacity to invest and to develop a real innovation ecosystem in Europe. For this, there are several bricks. One brick is to be able to have EU funding to invest together, because in the US, in fact, you have a specific ecosystem with defense, with investors, with the Silicon Valley, that does not exist in Europe. What we are going to do is to develop with a kind of public-private partnership for a European media, R&D, innovation ecosystem. The name of this ecosystem is the Media Road. It's a continental one with 9 organizations which are European organizations, and we are going to start to implement it by the end of the year with 3 topics: how to be forward-looking, and which is very important for regulation. When we speak about regulation, we need to think about the future and not the past. First thing. Second thing, how to create an innovation ecosystem to cooperate with startups. And this is a sandbox experience you are going to speak, I think. What we want is to allow traditional media to work quicker and better with startups, but we want also to allow startups to work with several companies at the same time in order to have a sustainable market. And the first thing is we want, with this Media Road project, to develop a new mindset within media, where people are capable of thinking both in terms of technology and content. And we are going to organize at a European level a series of events on topic of the future. For example, news and artificial intelligence. And we could take many other topics, which is one big project. Another big project of the EBU is a big data issue. And for us, big data is key, and it's a key issue in terms of trust. Why? Because with big data technology, we are changing our operational model. We used to be mass media, speaking to millions of people at the same time. Big data technology allows personalization and personalized interaction, which means that we are developing more and more hybrid model. We will go on speaking to mass, and we will remain mass media, but we will interact more and more with people on the one side, and on the other side, we will develop a personal relationship with the audience, which is going to be also a co-builder of our content. And this is a revolution, not for 10 years, not for 5 years, but for now. We have 4 practical issues for the present. One is how to develop trust relationship with our audience, and how to develop an awareness of the potential and risk of data. And if we, public service media, use data, we need to use them accordingly, according to clear principles of utility, of transparency, of security, which is one thing. The second thing is algorithm. Algorithm is important for our distribution, and algorithm is a way to express a societal model. So we need to develop algorithms which are at the heart of recommendation system, which integrate European value in terms of universality, in terms of quality, etc. Third thing is how to use big data to better understand our audience and to better measure. And the last one is how to use big data in order to increase the quality, increase the relevance of our content. And we can really do a lot of things. And if we take the lead, we will reinvent media and quality journalism.
Thank you, Guillaume. It's, I think, a good point to leave it on, and we're going to come back to you for some questions a bit later on. And first, I think it's good that we move to Esan. It looks like you got your clicker for the presentation.
Yes,
and I know you need to leave
work.
a bit early, so we'll go to your presentation first and then come back to the questions.
Maybe I should just stand up there, or maybe not.
Very traditional, yeah, this is,
yes, so I work as the head of social and third-party strategy at the Norwegian media house called Schibsted. We're Norwegian, but we are also in, I think, 29 countries. Our publishing houses are in Sweden and Norway, where Schibsted is very dominant in digital media. I think in Sweden we reach 8 out of 10 Swedish people every day through one of our companies. We're really big in publishing, really big in classifieds, and invest a lot in growth companies, startups. Today, or you can say my role, I'm a columnist, but I'm also strategic in Schibsted on our relationship to, for example, Facebook. So every time I meet Facebook, it's always first hand we talk about this, and then I have to answer why I wrote about that other stuff in this newspaper. So it's a very schizophrenic relationship. But today I'm going to speak about a story we did, investigation we did, and why it matters that you have to be an independent publisher in the future as well. So I hope this one works. We had a meeting with for the first time with our morning paper and our tabloid, where we actually took the investigation teams together for the first time, despite being owner of the same company for 20 years. So we were a bit slow with collaboration even within. And we decided that we had a thesis that if there is illegal stuff on, if you can do something, if there is closed groups on Facebook, you can find illegal stuff on Facebook. And I thought, we're going to find some guys selling guns or drugs or something, but our investigative team found much worse stuff. So what happened was that we actually went deep into these closed groups. How many of you are in a closed group on Facebook? Yeah, so you're there probably because you have friends there, or it's an interest mostly a closed group also builds trust within this community. So if there is a closed group and there are pedophiles, they are not likely to actually report each other or report pictures. So what happens is that the whole Facebook system of outside or users reporting so they can intervene, that really fails because you can't even see it. So these 4 reporters, what we did was that we revealed that Facebook's not just a global network, it's actually a connector for pedophiles. It's everything you did previously where it was difficult, forums or emails or whatever they did, now it becomes so easy. You can connect to people in 2 seconds from all over the world. And we also could see that the algorithms, they don't recognize if this is illegal or not. If you get stuck in there, you get stuck in there. So we all know about red feed or blue feed, that if you're a conservative or you're a liberal, if you end up in one of these feeds, it's difficult to get out. But imagine ending up in a feed where there are sexual predators or pedophiles. You keep getting that type of content. Facebook even pushes you towards it. So we published both articles in Swedish and in English in both newspapers the same day, just to get this impact in Sweden. But what we did was to register several different accounts. Person was like 25, woman, 30, man. And what they did was to they could actually write in interests as a new user. You could write in interest that what are you interested in? And our reporter could actually write in child porn. I'm interested in child porn, or I'm interested in rape, or different stuff. So what happens that even before we got any friends, as soon as we finished the registration form, we got a feed, and in the feed we were started getting recommended to different. We suddenly was just pushed into this little bubble where we got recommended even further into the bubble. So whatever we wrote in the search field, I'm going to show you. Yeah, you could write, for example, P in the search field. Because you don't have friends, what happens is that it shows, did you mean PT show sex? And that's abbreviation for preteen. So it was really difficult to, it could actually just be one mistake, write in the wrong word, and you got funneled into this bubble. We spoke to this I mentioned the closed groups, and I know it can be difficult for Facebook to understand what is in the closed groups or scan everything. But a few of the worst things we found was actually completely open groups that was there for everyone to see, but nobody actually apparently reported it, or Facebook didn't think that was anything illegal. So. It's of all the things I've worked for the last 10 years with Facebook, and we've done a lot of investigations into jihadists, guns and drugs. This is by far the worst. If you read stuff like this, you wonder, should this be, it's one thing if it's on the internet, it's a completely different thing if it's on a platform that makes a whole lot of money. So we filed a police report the same day. We spoke to a professor, and he explained this, with how it actually works with the with algorithms. That is completely neutral. Doesn't really care if it's illegal or not. The whole point with the algorithm is to make you feel at home, so you come back. And when we talked about, with Facebook about this. Have everyone here had a discussion with an employee at Facebook or a PR person at Facebook? You could talk a lot, you could actually sit and listen for an hour, and then you realize, what did I actually hear? They're really, really good at not saying anything.
Maybe some of them I hear those.
Yeah. But I've had so many meetings with Facebook and Google. They're really good at this. They invest a lot of money in PR. But when we contacted them, we were passed around. And what happened that we got this answer after a while, that we really care about this, that is important, we take security very seriously. But then this happened. We reported everything. We did a lot of stuff. We gave them links so they could actually check. But afterwards, a lot of it was still there, and they even told us that that's not illegal on Facebook. And I think this is the whole, the key to media future or the future of publishing. That Facebook is a big player; it's not going anywhere. So if you as a publisher should hold them accountable for your readers, that is also the citizens. Can you do that while you are dependent? And many people talk about media and tech, but it's very as soon as somebody talks about tech, they talk about platforms, and I don't think that should be the relationship. We did a sketch on this. We see a cheap state Facebook like this. It's like a Pac-Man eating the world. And it's actual facts that the growth of social, and that is a lot Facebook, as main source of news is growing. In some countries, it's actually doubling from one year to another. So, as soon as you wake up, you go to Facebook, and Facebook decides what you're going to read, and that makes the Facebook actually the power player when it comes to information. This is, a picture of the Facebook black box, the blue box, that you put something there and you have no idea who it will reach, why it reached this person, why it was shut down, why it was pulled. Do you remember this case like 6 months ago? Does anyone know about this? This was Espen Egil is a publisher at one of our newspapers in Norway, the biggest there, and he put this picture of this Vietnamese girl, Napalm girl, really classic picture. I think it was an anniversary day or something from that day, and Facebook pulled it down. They just pulled it and closed it. They did it again. They closed it. It went so far that the Norwegian Prime Minister, she put the picture up, and they closed her down. And so Espen Egil wrote this letter to Mark Zuckerberg, just to say, we're going to continue doing this. If you can continue putting us down, but this is an editorial decision, not a Facebook decision. So even after that, even all the criticism, their first reaction was to, we haven't done anything wrong, we have our rules. What the rules was really difficult to explain. And you could say that, if you see the discussions that have been last years, it's been a lot about how can media companies and platforms work together so we can find a sustainable model. People usually think this is what's going to happen, but honestly, this is what's going to happen. And we've seen this over and over again, that the revenues are, is not something you could actually build a media house on. Maybe one or two can, but not traditional media houses that invest a lot in journalism and investigative journalism. And, this was another painting, picture I saw about what the relationship is actually like. You sit there in a stormy weather and Facebook throws you a coin and you're supposed to be happy about it. And so at the end of the day, you could say, if Facebook controls your distribution, they know you can go out. The only way to reach out is through Facebook. They control your revenues and they control your editorial freedom. They just pull everything. Can you really call yourself a free, independent publisher? I think many people would say no. Schibsted is owned mainly by a trust, that was set up by the founder or children to the founder of Schibsted. And our chairman there, how will this influence a free independent press, our editorial accountability, or financial stability in our relationship with our users? Our answer to that is it will affect it very negatively. So Schibsted has, we've done this. Instead of going with platforms, we've actually invested heavily in our own platforms to actually be this third option after Google and Facebook, to say, here is a Norwegian company who's investing everything in journalism, who's building a platform, who's building an ecosystem to actually fund journalism. That is the purpose of Schibsted. AppNexus is one of the biggest, or it's probably the biggest ad network that is not Facebook and Google. We've actually reorganized, so every IT engineer we had through Schibsted in 29 countries are actually one unit now. So I think we have almost 2,000 people working in product and tech for Schibsted. So we're doing one platform for this, one platform for that, and everything goes on there. I think that is one of probably the biggest in Europe at the moment. Building one publishing platform. You all say, how many of you have read about instant articles or used it? Yeah, you probably clicked on it, you don't know yet, but it goes really fast, and it's a really good user experience. If we provide content to Facebook with their user experience, we're going to lose our users. So what we said is that, first of all, we don't provide the content. So Schibsted is not in instant articles. We're not in Google's, same thing, different name. Just to actually, if we produce the content, you have to read it at Schibsted's platforms. But to actually meet that, user experience, you need to have. You can't do one thing at one of the companies, second and another. You have to actually really focus. So we're building one platform and really getting, that user experience to match what you can see on Facebook. And last of all, I think the most important thing that we always talk about is that, you mentioned that as well, is, we can pretend that the fight is between Schibsted and Bonnier, there is a big Swedish, or it's between Le Parisien or Le Monde. We can pretend that is the fight, but it's not really the fight. Their revenues are not going from one of these companies to the other. There actually shows that 102% in US went to the last quarter last year of all the new money went to Google and Facebook. I said 102 because the rest lost 2%. So we're really pushing for this. I think I don't have so much time left.
We have to go to the person on Skype. Sorry.
Yeah, and the last thing, the whole call is we're trying to, as soon as somebody does something, you could always ask, how does this actually support journalism? It's a pretty clear goal for Schibsted that makes everything much easier. But we believe really that if you're going to choose between working with another publisher or working with Facebook, work with another publisher, because the latter, you don't know where it's going to lead. Here you could actually talk and build on.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much. That was really interesting. Thank you so much for that. I would love to open the floor for questions, but we don't have time.
No, it's
so
okay.
We do have to go to somebody on Skype. And thank you for being here. I know you have to leave early, so we'll thank you now. Albert Barrero is joining us from Madrid. He's a digital media strategist, and he's worked for the Spanish media group Prisa and several media startups. Albert, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. It could be a little bit louder.
Okay. Well, technology. So,
Let's see how it works.
everything okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, excellent. I would like to kind of follow up on the previous comments. And initially about the fact that, yes, indeed, media was one of the first industries on taking a digital route and innovating in the way they reach audiences on the using digital technologies. But that, more than an advantage, in the long term, it become even a bad thing for us, because we somehow mistaken the digital transformation with something that was just related to technology. And we are using maybe what is happening now, which is this is not just about technology. It's not just about the digitalization of processes and opening new digital channels. This is a proper, profound change in mindset. There is a new way of reach people. There is a new way of people actually coming as consuming our content. We need to understand how people consume content and then trying to adapt our value to that new world. And that's why we are losing the game against the big platforms. And what is happening, we just talk about Facebook. Facebook and the other big media, the big platforms, what they managed to do, which is something that is extremely difficult to achieve, is to win the user experience game. They actually managed to take from us the relationship with the audience. And that's going to be a very tricky thing to gain back, because that's extremely difficult. The fact to build that platform to consume news, as we just talked about, in order to compete with Twitter and Facebook, it's not just about the quality of the readership, of the experience of the product. It's about giving the whole environment of convenience. People go to Facebook not because they want to read news. They go to Facebook because they want to get in touch with the world, with their friends, with other stuff. And news get into that. And it's very difficult to with Facebook on that field. So I think that we have to learn how to cohabitate with Facebook and try to become relevant again. And that's where the issues of trust come into play. But again, what we did, I mean, we come from the industrial world, we come from a world in which we define ourselves in terms of product. What do? We do newspapers. What do we do when we have to become digital? We do digital newspapers, but we still think in terms of product. What we haven't done yet is to think about what is behind that product, what is the actual value that news gives to the news, and how we can reveal that value using digital technologies. I think that's the next debate. And that's not something that has to do with technology. That has something to do with the way we reframe our business. And that's what I defend when I work with media outlets like the Grupo Prisa, the owners of El País, that we have to start thinking from the very beginning. It's about what is the role of media in the 21st century? What have we been doing in the past for our audiences, and how are we doing it in the future? Let's say there is a news outlet like El País. They have been critical for the government of Spain as a country during the last 40 years. We know that we come from the dictatorship. We were, as I say, a country in black and white. And it was El País, like media outlets, the ones that helped whole society to move from this black and white world into a colorful European, cultivated, more free country. So that's what we did. That's not audiences. That is about influence. In order to influence the society, in order to provide real value, we need to trust. What happened during this first wave of digitalization is that everything that we did in terms of building this brand, which people trust in order to shape the viewers that they have, we kind of, in order to be able to compete with the platforms, in order to compete with the new players, we lowered the barrier. We just kind of forgot about the key values that sustain our business in the past. we were in the business of influence, and now we, in this digital world, we move into the business of audiences, in a very quantitative manner. So, in order to achieve numbers that allow us to survive, we kind of stop thinking in terms of quality, we stop thinking of trust, we stop thinking in terms of relevancy and influence, and we start thinking about the kind of populist approach to media. We just copy all the kind of, and you know all of this kind of headline crafting that we copy from the world in order to get people in. So we somehow, all the media, in order to win those battles, we lower the brand kind of perception of our own value proposition, let's say. And in that game, any fake news, anyone who wants to play that game to become, to reach more clicks, they do it better than us because they don't have the change that we have as brands to still keeping some kind of level of quality. They just do it because they can and they win the game. So what we have to do, that's my bet, is to start thinking about what is this purpose that we have businesses in the next few years, in the 21st century, offer relevant value to society. When we talk about El País, for example, and we work on that quite hardly, what we see is that as El País played, it was like a lighthouse for a society to move towards this European kind of world that we're in right now. What we see now is that the future is becoming more complex, more dark, more uncertain. And media has to play a role, like helping people to move into has to be able to be the translator, the interpreter of society, of the complexity of the world, and make it more digestible, more easy, and helping people to give some criteria and create some rich reviews. So, what the question is then is not so much about technology, is how we can, as media brands, rebuild that purpose. How we can create influence using the digital channels that are established or creating new ones. How we can build brands that can play a relevant role on the world of chatbots and artificial intelligence, for example. How we can use blockchain to ensure that the sources, the trust is embedded in the content. All these are the type of questions that we have to make ourselves. And then on top of that as well, what we have to do, what is critical, is to learn again to monetize trust. And that's done not just by numbers, not through quantitative page views or click-throughs, but through going to the old-fashioned brand endorsement. That it was one of the key values of media in the past. Brands want to work with us because people trust our worldview. Okay. So they want to be with us, and we're premium.
Okay.
In terms of sponsorships, we have to do subscriptions, events, anything that actually sustain that purpose.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We are on a tight schedule, and you mentioned trust and even blockchain, which ties in very well to our next three speakers. So we're going to go to our friends from VRT, and then after that to another speaker on Skype who will speak about blockchain. But first, let's...
I need to leave.
Thank you
for joining
us.
I need to take a flight. Pleased to meet you all.
And then we're going to continue on and hear from VRT. And I believe you also have a presentation.
Yeah, did you take it with us?
It's on a plane.
We're improvising. So, Dita and Tim from VRT, it looks like your presentation is at least already there. You just need the clicker and then we can start.
Sorry, it's like...
Hello, I'm Tim. Hear me? No? Hello? No? Yes, okay, that's better. I'm just a journalist, so I teamed up with Dieter because we speak a lot of here to you about trust and tech and fake news and all these kind of things. So actually I have a question for him and I want to introduce you to that question. I heard some interesting things the last few minutes about trust. What can media and journalism add to our society? What value? And I think that's very important. We have to, if we find solutions for the crisis, but because we are in a crisis in the media for the moment, we have to acknowledge that. If we have to find solutions for that. And I have to bring up this topic of the day, fake news. And now I'm going to raise my question. I did a story on fake news last week for our current affair magazine, Pano, and I went to Macedonia, to the guys who actually make fake news. Interesting guys, they're like 18, 19 years old. They're producing in their bedroom, like with their sweatpants on, producing fake news. And they make business out of it. They make a lot of money out of it. And if you want to see a clip from that, I'm going to show that clip. It's 8 minutes long. Just go to BuzzFeed, and Craig Silverman, he's also here, I don't know in the room, but here today, wrote a story about it. He shows 2 clips, one 8-minute clip from an interview I did with Boris. He's 18 years old, and he earns between 10,000 and 9,000 euros a month just by making fake news and using Facebook. 700 fake Facebook profiles spreading the fake news into specialized Facebook groups. For example, he writes a lot of stories about Donald Trump, fake news stories, pro stories, pro-Trump stories, and he wants people to click on them, of course, to gain money. But the second clip I want to show to you is that we have this fake news issue, so what's next? And I just want to watch that clip. One of the last questions I asked Boris is, what's next? And he just gave a simple answer. Just let's look at the clip. It starts just with a fragment of fake news and then we go to Boris.
Een van onze factcheckers heeft de hele dag op Facebook naar nieuws gezocht. En daar blijft het krioelen van verzonnen en gemanipuleerde verhalen en beelden. Over gezondheid, over Trump, over religie, over moslims.
Dit is iets heel interessants. Een tijdje geleden er circuleerde een video van een vrouw die van de trap werd geschopt in Duitsland. En wat ik de laatste tijd zie is dat dezelfde video terug circuleert, maar dan telkens onder een andere titel. Dus hier wordt dat A Migrant Kicks a German Woman. En als je hier, A Muslim Gang Kicks a German Woman. Ja. En dan nog iets anders. Moslima wordt zomaar getrapt en valt van de trap.
Alright, die wordt gewoon volledig om.
Ja, dus oude nieuws wordt terug gerecycleerd.
Ja, een nieuwe titel.
Ja, en om ook een bepaalde boodschap te geven, om bepaalde gevoelens te creëren.
Zolang Facebook en Google ermee blijven voor zorgen dat er met gemanipuleerde berichten geld te verdienen valt, zal fake news online niet meteen verdwijnen, zeggen de jongeren in Macedonië. En die kunnen het weten, want zij blijven fake news maken.
We're giving Facebook money so it doesn't fight. For example, I have paid more than 20,000 euros to Facebook just to create fun pages.
So you're saying the battle of Facebook and Google isn't real because they're making money out of this fake news industry?
Yeah, who's not? The next elections are in 2020, but they start in late 2018 or 2000. So we have 2 years to prepare really good. Facebook profiles, Facebook fan pages, websites, articles, everything. And then when the elections start, that's when you will have to come again here and see what's that will bring. The next elections will be really good.
And Dieter made me aware, was like, actually this guy is saying, like, bring on your technology and everything you want. It won't help. We're getting smarter and smarter, so you want to debunk fake news? Go ahead and try it. At the same time, he's pointing at Facebook and Google. He's saying their fight is not real. We all know that Facebook will now acknowledge there is a problem, but still I think they can do more, Facebook and Google. But when making this story, this is a 35-minute documentary, when making the story I spoke to a lot of news consumers. And okay, we have this fake news issue, but at the same time, and it has been said before, you feel that trust in journalism is at an all-time low. If you see, for example, in Belgium, people who get most trusted are firefighters, doctors, nurses, And we journalists are bottomed down together with business people and priests. So, yeah, so of course we have this fake news issue, but this combined with an all-time low trust in journalism is pushing us to a tipping point. What if people, the majority of the people, don't believe us mainstream media anymore? And that's my concern as a journalist, and that's why I want to know, how can technology help me with that issue? Because you can talk a lot about technology, there are many angles, but for me, hands-on as a journalist, I think what we have to do is even more producing more and more good journalism, good stories. And there is this huge technology tool, it's called the internet. It's a simple technology. How can that tool, that technology help me, for example, in establishing a better relationship with my audience, with my readers, with my viewers, with my listeners? Because I think that's, of course, this fake news issue is a problem, but also the all-time low trust in journalism. And we have to think about new relationships. So, how can technology help me establish a better relationship? But on the other hand, we as mainstream media, how can we debunk fake news? Is even do more and better journalism. We are in Belgium, there is a high level quality of journalism, of course, but we have to do even more and better our best. So how can technology, for example, help me as a journalist to find the right facts and do better journalism? So actually that's when we team up. He's the technology guy at the VRT. So how do we do that, Dieter?
Okay. So
My slides.
First question maybe is, do I believe that technology can solve the problem? And I think it can. So from a technical point of view, it will be possible. If you have all the technology power of the big players together with us as companies growing back, as Guillaume says, to be also technical companies who are really growing on that. I think it's possible. Technology can do the big job. I think what we need is that we have algorithms that trace the fake news, and for a number of the things that are on there, it's not difficult to know. If the image was 2 or 3 years old, technology can know. They just don't want to know, but they can know that. In some cases, I think that technology can flag some items that are suspicious, and that humans are needed to really see if the news is good or not. So we will need this cooperation between man and machine, as always, where machines can do a lot, and then man can do the difficult cases. But the good thing is, if there will be technology fighting this, I think it will get better at it at a very fast rate. Because if man corrects things that the technology didn't know, the algorithms, but because that's how all those big machines work, get better. There are less cases that are difficult and that have to be treated by man. So it's possible as humanity to build a machine that can solve this problem. I'm quite sure of that. If you followed what was published on this last week, because there was a lot of movement by Facebook, by Google, by technologists the last 2 to 3 weeks, this is also more or less the opinion. Humanity can solve this. I think what it takes to solve this is not only a technical thing, but it's a very difficult thing at the moment, and that's that these parties that are not liking each other over the last 10 years really need to cooperate on this. So we have, of course, the big platforms, search platforms like Google, social platforms like Facebook, the journalists, but also the journalists with the technologists in their companies. Sometimes they even not work together. And the good thing is that fact checkers are already grouping together and work already together with Facebook, for instance. And let's not forget the public. If I see something that's not true, where's my button? Where can I say that's not true? Where can I get in contact with Tim? And thus, do we provide, as tech people in the broadcaster, do we provide this button to Tim? So we need complex cooperations because, to be honest,
Facebook, if they would do the solution and also the humankind part, we wouldn't like it. We would say, okay, they start to be journalists. We don't want that. So in one way or another, we need this cooperation. And I think the reason that it's not there, and it hasn't been there for the last 10 years, we already heard it on stages, there is not a good business model at this moment to bring quality content to people. The platforms are built on people clicking things a lot, and that's a part of a brain that's there, and it works, and they test it, and they make the companies bigger and bigger on that. But there's another part of the brain that doesn't like that, and that wants us to proceed, and not like only use this animal part of the brain that does the clicking on impulses. So we really need a better model, because the man with the guitar, in this case, making the content, is not paid. It's not paid to do the journalism, it's not paid to do the technology around it. So I know it's always the same problem we lay on the table, but it's a real problem. And the new thing, I think, these last weeks is that for the platforms, now it's also a problem. Facebook said in a big paper, 15 pages to say, okay, we see now it's a problem. So that might be a beginning of the, in my opinion, the real trust problem, and that is that these companies, these organizations, they don't trust each other. We don't trust Facebook, they don't trust us to really want to help humanity, and we all are on big stages saying we want a better world. So, last slide from my part, it would be not nice to sit here and say what the world must do without saying what we can do as a broadcaster, as a media company. I work for a public broadcaster, so trust is for us it's the most important, the single most important currency, more important than money. The only reason we're there is trust. That's what we sell. That's why we're on the market. And what we can do, first thing is of course to make very good journalism. Second thing is especially public broadcasters that aren't that under pressure of business models. Funding is going down also very quickly, but it has to do with governments, not with business models. But I think we should foster, and we do foster, as Guillaume already said, cooperation. Third thing is, we can say that the platforms need to fact check what's on their platform, but we also need to check, fact check, and we do this manually, of course, but I think we also need to implement things in our workflows that do technical checks. Is this the first time? Is this really a picture of yesterday? Is this picture taken there? When did it go to Photoshop? Do we know the guy that sent us a picture? Is this an official account? These are questions that should be in our workflows, and they're there with some big publishers and big companies, but they are not on our floor. Same as I already told with user feedback, in our system and our platform, it's not possible to react. We stopped reaction because we got people fighting with each other. But then if Tim publishes something wrong and somebody is mad, he will stay mad. And there's not a correction and nobody that can talk to Tim about that. Media literacy, important one. We work a lot with our children's channels on that, because you have to learn people as a child to process media. Not afterwards. Afterwards we're all like baked in kind of patterns and we'll never get out of there. Of course, brands are important. People trust brands, so it's a pity that a lot of very popular brands had to publish clickbait, because now they're damaged. So I hope that we find a model that brands can keep their seriousness or their not seriousness, if that's not their business. But a brand has to be sharp, so people know where the content comes from. So this is really people's business, good marketing. It's not like advertising, it's like being very careful what your brand is about and be very sharp on that. And then a last one, if I may, is one where we have very good experience with the last few years. We built out of our R&D department, and together with a number of companies, for instance BBC, we built a platform ourselves to connect with our audience and to co-create content with our audience. And we built this for big events, but now we're moving this platform for news. I'll give an example of an event. We have Music for Life, which is a very big fundraising. 3,000 groups of people, organizations did a fundraising act, and they made media about it. And 1,500 of them really made media and posted it to us. We could go in conversation with them. We have a conversation interface where we can talk with them to ask, for instance, everybody who's now at the seaside, there's something happening, please give us pictures of that. And I think this is an example. This platform it's really growing very fast. Everybody wants to use it for different use cases, for TV shows, for news, etc. And the good thing is that if you connect with people, if you talk with them, if you really know them and you co-create your content, it's much easier to have a trustful relationship. And okay, that's not something Facebook has to do. They have 2 billion customers. We have 5 million as VRT. We can handle this if we do this in a smart way. So I think these kinds of initiatives might be the future to connect to our audience in a more conversational kind of way.
Thank you to both of you. I'm sure we have questions, but I need to see if our last speaker is already on Skype. And Peter, are you on Skype? Great.
Hello there.
I see you and I hear you. So let me introduce you briefly. Peter Haasnut is joining us from the Netherlands. He's the co-founder of the startup Publicism, which uses blockchain for journalism. And I'm sure a lot of people here would love to hear the details of how that works and what you're doing. So can you explain that to us?
Yeah, sure. Shall I do the presentation? Is that a good thing?
Sure.
Okay, let me wait a minute. Let me share my.
You have about 10 minutes, and then I'd like to open the floor to questions.
Oh, okay, so I'll talk fast. Here we go. Okay, it's about publicism. Publicism is about giving journalism back to the people. And I just listened to the speakers on stage, and there are a lot of topics that relate to what we are doing. I will not go into why free press is under siege, because you're doing that all day long, I guess. But for us, there are 4 reasons why free press is under siege. And these are slightly different than what you usually see. Of course, there are the political, criminal, and terrorist forces that seek to silence free media. But for us, it's very important to look into the broken business model, as the speakers on stage just discussed. Because the money of local advertisers is flowing abroad, mostly to non-press platforms like Facebook and Google, and the algorithms of Facebook and Google do not care about free press. Of course, there's a little bit of movement, as the last speaker just mentioned, but still it's about clicks. Facebook is not about free press. And mainstream press in general is quite nostalgic. They still rely on these old business models, and are not quite diverse, and we think not innovative enough. So this nostalgic feeling that what free press was used to be, it was about a shared value. It used to be the beauty of mainstream publishers, and advertising and subscriptions were supporting free press, and that's gone these days. So we think blockchain technology could help, because blockchain technology is about trust, as the last speaker just mentioned, and it is about power in the publishing markets. So this is an important image of what blockchain as a technology could do. We are so used to centralized old school media that are in fact power structures. And we think that we move to the right to decentralized and distributed media, where the wake up, smell the coffee. We are still on the left part of the image. Everything is centralized in old school organizations, and the organizations are becoming a problem. So why not change these organizations? We are very used to them because they are trusted third parties, as you call it in the blockchain scene. They are centralized parties that organize trust and also all kinds of services. But what if we could change that with a network? Could we create a network that also organizes trust and delivers the same publishing services as the old centralized organizations do? Well, with blockchain, it's possible. This is a little bit technology about blockchain. You know what? I'm going to skip that one. When people talk about blockchain, they always think, oh, that's the Bitcoin thing. And it is, in fact, a technology that is under Bitcoin and a lot of other cryptocurrencies in the market today. But the interesting development that we see is that this technology can also be used to deliver all sorts of services, also in the publishing and media market. So it's not a centralized organization that is delivering the services. It is, in fact, the network itself that in smart contracts and in software is delivering the same services as the central organization does. So, to cut it short, blockchain is a technology that is about trust and power. It is about changing trust and power in society. It is a kind of distributed ledger. The network is a kind of ledger that facilitates all transactions, also media transactions and publishing in the market. It is much more than just a currency, much more than just Bitcoin. It's also about smart contracts, so we can deliver all sorts of services in IP, in search, and all sorts of agreements. And it will disrupt many classic markets, also the media and the press market. Because, well, when we are looking into the media market, we think, okay, it's changing. We see all sorts of individual journalists trying to compete with the old school centralized media organizations and the centralized platforms like Facebook and YouTube. But what if we could make a kind of platform for these individual journalists to cooperate together in a cooperative blockchain-based platform? And that's what we are doing. So to go back to the 4 reasons, these political forces and terrorist forces that seek to silence free media, the broken business model, the algorithms that really do not care because they are owned by people who want to make profit out of them by clicks and who do not have free press in their societal goal. Then we could say, well, blockchain could help on all these points by creating new markets and a new structure of the market. And that's a big thing, but we are moving towards that. We created a blockchain-based cooperative publishing network that could deliver new business models and a new structure of the market, and could also help free press and strive for fighting fake news by creating coaching circles. So I will not go into everything, but I will point out some points. So what we deliver is safe and distributed data storage and identity for individual journalists. We create new business models based on micropayments and permitted advertising. We create coaching circles that are forms of cooperations between established journalists, New York Times and the Wall Street Journal and others are already cooperating. And we connect them with up-and-coming new journalists all over the world. And we create a typical blockchain thing, that is, we create free press bonds. That is a possibility to support journalists all over the world with earmarked contributions and earmarked budgets. And that will create the possibility to take a stake in supporting free press. So it's complicated, it's a very complicated technical thing, but we are moving forward. And I will not go into this one into detail because that's a very technical thing. This is even more technical, but this is the proof of concept and the architecture that we are creating. And of course, we are now moving towards the UX and usability because it has to be very easy to use. So we're creating a kind of innovation ecosystem with all kinds of parties together to really change the structure and the business models of the media and the press market. We're working together with the Dutch government, with World Press Photo, Free Press Unlimited, and other universities, and with commercial corporate organizations that build this for us. Provectus is our technology partner from Silicon Valley, and we work together with Ethereum and IBM, Hyperledger, and Rootstock, which are companies from the blockchain market. So that's about it. Well, we are a team of experienced media people who are fed up with free press being under siege, so we want to fight it with technology, and we do it with blockchain technology. So help us. Now is the time to support free press.
Thank you, Peter. So Peter's just proposed a technological solution to some of the problems that the other speakers have brought up today. I just want to ask some of the other panelists, I mean, does this sound like a real viable solution to you? What do you think when you hear this kind of presentation on blockchain?
If you think about the game industry and the fact that people, to make successful game, can be 800 to cooperate, you understand that there is new business model and new operational model to produce content. And it means that we are in a phase of revolution where cooperation is going to be key and key and key. At the level of the EBU, we are developing and we are working on a quality journalism initiative. And the key word is cooperation, cooperation, cooperation. How to think better together. Let's take the example of the leaks of the Panama paper. You see that this is transnational topic where you need different kind of expertise. Up to now, we are very classic the way we work together, and it's very basic. It could have been more or less the same thing 100 years ago. But we will need to organize to have a critical mass in terms of software, a critical mass in terms of intelligence and understanding to raise the right issue, a critical mass to analyze the data, and it means that we will have more and more to organize at transnational level. If we want to understand well reality, let's take the example of migration. I don't know if you remember, there was a period when the migrant issue came where nobody was very clear about the challenge behind, the figures, etc. Somehow it means that we need to develop cooperation model with academia, with tech, with journalism, in order to have a better understanding of the key challenges for humankind, in order to deliver a better contribution to society. I will not use the word of value because value is also economic, and for me the challenge is more societal. So it's very challenging, it's very exciting, and it means that we need to go together in order to think the next step, not only of journalism, because what you saw with blockchain could be exactly the same issue for democracy, for health, etc. It's other way of thinking we have to invent. And for me, I think it's a wonderful challenge, and the game is very open. Because it is not only the topic of Google, Facebook, etc. In Europe, we have so much expertise. If we are able to create the level of cooperation to leverage this expertise, we really can take the lead. But the lead is not only a topic in terms of economy. It's a real topic in terms of how to contribute to a better society and to a better future. And for me, this is a European DNA.
Peter, are you still there on Skype?
I don't know if you agree, but...
No, okay.
That's what I meant by value. Giving something back to society, being more than just a broadcast medium that produces stories, but we have to go beyond and put something back to society. And indeed what you say is co-creation, cooperation is key for the future, I think. It's a big part of the future.
And I mean, when I look at your presentation, the two of you together, you showed us this video with this 18-year-old saying that Facebook accepts its money, Facebook profits so much. And you said it's time to kind of overcome this mutual mistrust between media companies and platforms. So, but when I hear these things together, it sounds, how do you overcome something like that?
What might be a tipping point, but we don't know, it is very recent, that from the moment this problem is also a problem for the platform and for the trust in the platform. And then it could be that good content has also value for the platform. That for the platform it's also important to have real content on top, and that we can make that together. So at this moment, valuing the platform is still on content that has the largest number of clicks. But you see that they lose, possibly they lose trust from public also, that, okay, what's on there, it's fun, but Facebook is not for everything. And the Facebook, I think that the Facebook is not for everything is a big topic at Facebook at the moment, because it's not for youngsters, it's not for this, it's not for that. So I think for them it's very important that they start thinking of getting their model and their algorithm is the same, because what they publish and the money that goes in there and the money you can put in there, because that was for me the shocking part, that the guy said, okay, we pay Facebook It's one big system, and it might be for them also interesting now to not being what they have now is they are being accused of breaking down democracy in a false way by other nations, by military, etc. So that's a possibility. I think that we can go around the table again, but the reality has been for the last, I think, 10 years that 70% of the money that is earned by content on there goes to a platform and not to people making stuff. So
there is a democratic issue because citizens are paying public service media. Public service media are one of the main content providers in the European Union with other media, but we invest in new content, something like 20 billion euros. And the problem is somehow this content serves the development of global platform, which does not serve citizen interest. So there is a real political and democratic issue, but also an economic issue. And we need to put the question on the table, not only with regard to how to sustain democracy and to have a real balanced, fair partnership with the platform with regard to the way they distribute the content. And we saw the example earlier of the Vietnam War photo and all the question behind that, which is one topic. But the second topic is really their contribution to society, their contribution to the funding of content. And without this, this discussion, which is very difficult because they are global, we are local. But they transform our traditional local competition into a global competition. And ourselves, it's very difficult to unite our effort because we have the risk of European competition law. So which kind of balance to find? I think it's really a European level major political issue, and the real topic is what kind of society we want to live in and how to prepare now tomorrow's society. Because behind the question of media, if you see at Google and Alphabet, which is the new company for Google to develop, I would say, new industries, they are going to be in everything. They can be in automotive, they can be in health, it can be... So it's new kind of oligopolies which take place. And in our European mindset and regulation, we are not at all prepared for that kind of competition because we look sector by sector. That's really interesting. It's completely challenging and it completely questions the way our nation state and Europe function and regard the world.
Guillaume, I just want to see if there are any questions from the audience, especially if somebody here works for Facebook.